Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. And hey, this is a Wednesday evening that brings a lot of excitement in the Dodgers organization. Got a chance to talk to Billy Gasparino about some of the excitement going on. But it is a great time to be a Dodgers fan, Austin.
It is a great time to be a Dodgers fan. It's also a great time here at Dodgers Daily. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on, a lot of different people within the organization. You just mentioned Billy Gasparino. First off, shout out to him. Shout out to the organization for trusting you, trusting us to be able to put on those different types of interviews, not just with him, but with the players as well. It is a privilege to be able to do that type of stuff. And we try to do our best to do right by them, do right by the organization. So we hope that you guys have the time to be able to consume that type of stuff. That is the type of stuff that I enjoy and am fascinated about most. I got to go back and rewatch that one. I think Jay had stated that in the comment section of one of the videos. Is like, I got to go back and absorb everything that was said, not just Dodgers talk, but some Oklahoma State baseball talk in there as well, which I know is close, near and dear to your heart as well. It is an exciting time to be a Dodgers fan right now, both for the excitement of the offseason, of looking forward to what could happen, as well as what the Dodgers have done. And it's the first time that we've had the chance to be able to interact since the move was implemented yesterday. The news of Jack Dreyer was added to the Dodgers 40-man roster. That was a great special moment, I think, for both, much more for Jack Dreyer, because he's on the Dodgers 40-man roster. It also was a really cool moment because we've had the chance to be able to watch his growth and progression over the past 2 years. Me in 2023 in Great Lakes, you in Tulsa and Oklahoma City this past year, and from watching it from afar in 2023. But just to see what he's come back from injury to, in 2 years, establishing himself as a dominant left-handed reliever within this organization, to being the guy that the Dodgers decided to protect, is really remarkable what he was able to do. So it's incredibly exciting for him, and just a great time to be a Dodgers fan right now. And also, the Dodgers just won the World Series. How can you not be excited about that?
And as Billy mentioned, the ownership group is as hungry as ever to keep adding, and they will keep adding. They talked to Juan Soto today, and just kind of, we always talk about the attention to detail, and I really wanted to get to that question about the Dodgers winning on the margins, because I think that question goes to the heart of the attention to detail that the Dodgers administration takes towards every single decision, every single transaction, every single player, every single meal that each guy makes, every single workout, every single lineup, every single decision. I mean, so if you watched Billy Gasparino work through those questions, he gave the most, he gave answers that just showed the attention to detail in the way that he wanted to give those answers. And I thought really just by the way that you saw him able to communicate the things that he wanted to say, kind of gave a pretty good insight just how detailed and just how sharp these people are, man. I mean, these are people that just know what they're doing.
Yes, and it also goes to show you that it's not just because it's one thing to be smart yourself, but it's the other people that you surround yourself with that help grow you and help make you a better person. And I think you could see that reflected in the answer, because I don't think it's just Billy Gasparino that is smart and intelligent, which absolutely he is. And he's partly responsible for the Dodgers winning the World Series in 2024. It's also the people that he is surrounded with as well that leads into that thoughtful insight, that leads into that corroboration to where they're able to take different ideas from different departments. That is really cool and helps build up this organization into the place that it is right now, where all aspects of the organization, all margins, they're looking at it for the fine detail, from Andrew Friedman really caring for the prospects and spending a lot of time in the backfields with them and caring about them, when there's a lot of other baseball general managers who might care about some of the top guys, but even some of the other lesser known named guys, at least get published a lot might not care as much about. I think there's a lot of attention to detail to every single guy within the organization, and I think that attention to detail was very much evident, and the people that he surrounds himself with, I think you could see all of that come into fruition for that interview. It was really cool to be able to see.
It was a big honor to get to speak with him. I was so honored that he decided to come on, and really more so honored that he answered the questions and didn't just give canned answers. He gave his all to them. He really gave information to the Dodgers fans that he felt like the Dodgers fans needed. He didn't just, try to skirt around the issue and become a politician and spend 5 minutes saying nothing, which a lot of times guys in that position are really good at because they spent their whole entire adult life doing that. But I thought he was very impressive. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope everybody else enjoyed that as well. I hope everybody else also enjoyed our Rule 5 coverage, Rule 5 draft coverage, where we both predicted that Jack Dreyer would get protected from the Rule 5 draft to put on the 40-man roster. Now, we're going to get into our Juan Soto talk. We're going to get into all the free agency here in a minute, but we're going to get to the business first. So here's really, and I've communicated with some people today, and this is exactly what I told them, is that the Dodgers it's not that they don't think Ryan Ward's good. It's not they don't think Cody Hosey's worthy. It's not they don't think Austin Gothier's worthy. All that, right? But really what the Dodgers did to those guys, they did right by them. And what I mean by that is the Dodgers know that there's no opportunity for Ryan Ward. They know that Max Muncy's going to be the starting third baseman this year. Cody Hosey's already 27. I mean, he's going to be 28 by the time that they even start thinking about putting him in a lineup, right? Okay, so Austin Gothier. I mean, you already have Chris Taylor. You have Tommy Edman. You're probably still going to have Kike Hernandez at some point this year. I mean, the Dodgers and Kike, I think Dodgers fans are going to want him come playoff time next year. So I really think, and I could be wrong here, but the Dodgers are like, hey, we like these guys. Let's do right by them and give them a chance to go somewhere else where they can actually have a major league career. Let's not do the Michael Busch thing to them, right? So I really think they did right by Cody Hosey, Austin Gothier, and Ryan Ward.
It is, yes. And honestly, that is what I'm rooting for, because I think both Casey and I, from a selfish side of wanting to see these guys have a major league career and not wanting them to see them stick in Oklahoma City for an entire season, which I think with the way that this roster is constructed and with the likely moves that they would be making, it would be you're going to sit in Oklahoma City and you're going to wait for somebody to get injured. And I don't think that is a great deal for a lot of these guys, especially with Wardo, with Cozy, and even with Gator. All of them are starting to get up there in age a little bit. They're starting to get to that 25, 26, 27 years old, to where, man, that really sucks to be stuck in Oklahoma City just waiting for somebody to get injured to receive that opportunity. And I think this opens up the ability for them to get an opportunity with another organization if another organization is wise enough to go ahead and take a chance on them. It doesn't mean that your evaluation of each one of these players, or even the Dodgers' evaluation of these players, means that these are bad players. All of these guys are incredibly talented players that they have loved having in this organization. And if they remain part of this organization, they will love having them be part of this organization. They're phenomenal people. The opportunity that the Dodgers were going to present to each one of these guys was limited. I was a little bit surprised with them not protecting Gator, just because I could see a little bit more of a availability just because of his versatility. But even so, they are going to keep Chris Taylor on this roster. I know a lot of Dodgers fans.
And Kike is going to be around, man. Tommy Edman.
Yes. I know a lot of Dodgers fans are frustrated with the performance of Chris Taylor. They owe him, $13 million this next season. He's going to be sticking around probably until at the very least July. And I don't think any other team's going to be trading just to get rid of some of the Dodgers payroll, just to be nice to the Dodgers. And also the Dodgers with Chris Taylor, he is a Dodger. They're going to do right by him. Kike Hernandez, I'm assuming, wants to come back. I'm assuming they're going to bring him back. He's another one of those versatile players. There's two of them. Then you have Tommy Edman. And even if you wanted to go add a shortstop and then move Tommy Edman into a versatile type role and just play a lot of center field, the opportunities for Gator become incredibly limited. And as much as I love Austin Gauthier and want him to see be in a Dodgers uniform, I want to see him in a major league uniform more than an Oklahoma City uniform. Yeah, I don't really care where exactly that is. He's an incredibly talented player. With Cody Hosey, I think the writing's on the wall. Max Muncy is going to be the third baseman this season and very likely the next season because of his team-friendly club option. And then you have 2 years where he'd sit on the bench. He would be 29 when he'd finally get an opportunity to consistently play at the major league level.
Maybe. When he starts getting considered.
Yes, before he starts getting considered. And I don't want that for Cody Hosey.
Right,
and I think the way that he was able to turn around and progress last season, I don't think you want to kill his momentum and say you're going to perfect AAA baseball for a couple of years before you come up to the major leagues. That sucks. That sucks to a guy. And then with Wardo, I think they are likely to bring in some type of corner outfielder. And I think the goal for them is to eventually, if not at the start of the season, which I think it should be at the start of the season, play Andy Pages in position to see what he has at the corner outfield, to see if he's going to be part of their long-term future. They clearly have prioritized Andy Pages because they played him and gave him a lot of opportunities during the 2024 season. Everyday opportunities, which does not come often at all to these rookie players. Ask anybody, or just look at the numbers as far as
I tweeted your comment about that. All the Dodgers compared to all the other clubs in terms of at bats and all that for the rookies. That was awesome stuff, by the way.
Yes, they don't give out a lot of at bats to rookies, and the at bats that they do give out, it's very much infrequent at bats. So I think the writing kind of was on the wall, especially if they wanted to add another corner outfielder, to where I think it is doing right by a Ryan Ward, who is having an incredible offseason, who had a really, really good regular season this past season, to be able to have his options open to where he could try to figure it out if a team, and I hope a team takes a chance on him during the Rule 5 draft, and I hope he goes out there and hits 25 home runs, 30 home runs, just like he is capable of doing. Ryan Ward is a great player. I think the Dodgers are keeping in mind doing right by these guys. I think it's also a limitation of where the Dodgers are at roster-wise, because if you look at the number of players that are on this roster, there was 37 entering yesterday. After adding Jack Dreyer, there's 38. You have the non-tender deadline that's going to be coming up, I believe, on Friday. So it's possible that they don't tender some guys' contracts. But even if you go up and down this roster, the guys that they would not tender, maybe Zach Logue, just because he doesn't have any minor league options.
Right.
But other than that, I don't think you would non-tender pretty much any of these guys unless you're like, hey, there's no way that we're not going to find a way to put Brent Honeywell into the bullpen. But even him, I think you saw it with and I haven't had a chance to watch the full interview, so we won't go into too much, but Mookie Betts just released a podcast with Bleacher Report, and he was very much part of that interview after the World Series parade and had a very big impact on the World Series winning team. So there's a good possibility that they want to keep him around and that clubhouse presence around. So there's not a whole lot of options that they can turn to at the non-tender side of things. So you're already dealing with a lot of roster constraints. And no, when I'm talking about non-tenders, you're not going to non-tender a Hunter Fiducia or a Gavin Lux. You trade those types of pieces because they're talented enough to where you can find a team to trade those pieces for, or those really talented players for, and do right by them as well and give them an opportunities if the writing is on the wall, which I think both Casey and I agree, I think very much is for both of those guys, that the opportunities are probably limited for both of them. So I think the Dodgers actually did right for some of these guys, even though
they did what's best for all three of them. And the Dodgers. It's a win-win.
It sucks because I want Austin Gauthier to be a Dodger. I want Ryan Ward and Cody Hosey to be Dodgers and to prove themselves and be incredibly well. But if they're not going to get opportunities, then that's the last thing I want, because I want those guys to actually not just make an impact at the major league level, but make an impact for themselves, for their families, because being in the big leagues is career and life-changing.
Absolutely. And then also, I mean, if they don't get picked up in the Rule 5 draft, that, you gave them a chance. And if it doesn't happen, then that's just that's the business side of things. It's business. I mean, it is what it is. It sucks, but I hope they get picked up. But if they don't, and you're the Dodgers, it's like, well, we gave you the chance. It didn't happen. it's business. It sucks. So go to Oklahoma City under those circumstances. And if you want to keep playing baseball, right? So it's one of those deals, which they all will, because they're all wonderful players. But you mentioned the selecting the contract of Jack Dreyer puts the roster at 38. I think Zach Loge is probably a non-tender guy, DFA guy, that kind of deal. So that puts you down to 37. And I think definitely Gavin Lux is a trade piece, right? So I think you have 4 roster spots right now to play with. So when I was talking about the other night, I kind of was mad at myself because I didn't explain this at all. And this is what I meant to explain when I was by myself. I think Roki Sasaki is a slam dunk. I should have explained that right off the bat to begin with on the last show. So there's 37. Okay, but my point with Roki Sasaki is I think the Dodgers, he's, to me, more unpredictable than what Yoshinobu Yamamoto was when he came over. I don't think he's a guy that you can say, go to a 1 or 2 spot, give us 125, 130 ace-level innings, and just plug and play like that. So I think Roki Sasaki needs to be kind of extra to what the Dodgers add this year. I think when they get Roki Sasaki, they also need to get Corbin Burns or Max Fried or Blake Snell. I think they need to get both. And the reason is I think it's more important to have somebody at the top of your rotation that has proved to be durable. Obviously very, very, very good, but then also a guy that has posted time after time after time for all of their starts. I think the Dodgers desperately need that guy. And so, yes, I think Sasaki is a slam dunk, but I think they need to get him and then another ace-level pitcher that they can rely on to post all their starts this next year. That's what I was saying Sunday.
Yeah, so that would create an interesting conversation.
Yes.
So I think the latest news on Roki Sasaki is it sounds like from comments that Rob Manfred was made, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, it sounds like he won't get posted officially until after the January 15th deadline. Which could create a little bit of complication because the Dodgers have a certain select amount of money that they have specifically set aside in their international free agent money, which I'll explain this just briefly for anybody who might be new or unfamiliar to this process. Each major league team has a certain select amount of money that they can spend on international free agents that they have for an entire year. So I believe it's from early January 15th, 16th, something like that, until the following January. They can spend on certain international free agents. So that whether that's from Japan, whether that's from Latin America, you see them being able to use some of that money. And now they can spend big on certain guys, or they can kind of spread out the resources. And you've seen the Dodgers take a wide variety of different approaches, but they've been incredibly successful because they've gotten some really talented players, international free agent money. They took a little bit of a different approach, knowing that there was a distinct possibility that Roki Sasaki could be available during the 2024 international signing period, to where right now they have 2 million, 2.5 million, something like that. Whereas a lot of other teams have already spent their international free agents money. Dodgers have set aside just in case they want Roki Sasaki becomes available. That money, if it is not spent, does not transfer over to the following season. So the Dodgers would have to either spend that money or lose it, which I'm going to guess the Dodgers have some type of plan in place. They usually do, as far as what would happen in case this fell through, be able to find different players. A lot of other teams have spent money on other players, so it might be a little bit complicated towards that. And what it also does is that could open up the window for a lot of other teams to spend a lot of their international free agent money on a Roki Sasaki. So then it becomes, what is Roki Sasaki actually looking for? Is he looking for the initial highest bid, in which case, because of the way the Dodgers, because of the way that the Dodgers have their international free agent, I think other teams, just with some of the ways that Major League Baseball tries to balance out teams, I don't think the Dodgers have the most amount of international free agent money. You're limited in how much you can actually spend on that, just like you're limited in how much you can actually spend in the draft. I don't think the Dodgers would have the most amount of money. So then it comes down to, does he really want to come to the Dodgers? I think most people are guessing that he probably does, but that creates an interesting conversation. And the signing, it sounds like it is going to happen a little bit later during the offseason. So then what do you do if you're the Dodgers? Who do you actually target? Because I think everybody agrees that this rotation definitely needs some assurance, definitely needs some help. Whether that comes from a Roki Sasaki, you believe that he would be able to provide that, or, and this comes with an interesting conversation, because let's say that you go ahead and get a Roki Sasaki. You would have, and let's just assume that everybody is healthy in the rotation. You would have Glasnow, Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Sasaki. That would be 4 that you would have. And then let's say that you want to go ahead and bring back a Walker Buehler or a Clayton Kershaw. Well, if you had both of them, that fills up your rotation at 6. Do you still want to go out there and get a frontline starting pitcher? I think most Dodgers fans would say, yeah, we've seen all of the injury concerns that we've had over the past couple of seasons. Yeah, we want to fortify our rotation even that much more. And there could be some injury concerns with some of the guys. You don't know exactly Clayton Kershaw coming back immediately right away, being healthy, as we've seen some injury concerns over the past couple of seasons. There are a lot of complicated factors that could lead into this. And I think pushing the signing period back into 2025, while it sounds like a small minor detail, could open up the door for other teams to get into the Roki Sasaki race, because they might have a little bit higher of a pool for international free agents, whereas the Dodgers were strategic and saved some money just in case. Other teams have mostly spent that. Other teams would now have the ability to go after him with more money if they wanted to. And so then it comes down to how good is your pitch and how much does Roki want to become a Dodger?
Yeah. You would think that would be quite a bit. And so even if you get Roki Sasaki, I'm still saying, and we have a comment here that Blake Snell's not an innings eater. You need an ace and a guy that will absolutely eat innings. And so I think that lowers the pool down. So right now you're at 38. I think Lowe's, and you trade Lux, that gets you down to 36. Sasaki, 37. I think if you go get a Corbin Burns, that's 38, right? You re-sign Teo, and then go get Devin Williams. That's your 40 right there. And then once the spring training starts, you put your 5 guys on the 60-day IL, Nick Frasso, River Ryan, and Brusdar Gratterall, and I can't remember who the other I had it written down the other night, but whoever those 5 guys are, that opens up 5 more spots. You do with Clayton Kershaw exactly like you did last year. You sign him during spring training after you put those 5 guys on the 60-day IL. That opens up the 41st spot that opens up 5 spots for the Dodgers to go back and re-sign a Zach Loge if they want to, or whatever they want to do with their 40-man at that point. So I think definitely all you have to do at this point is trade Gavin Lux to get Devin Williams, Corbin Burns, Roki Sasaki, and whoever else I mentioned there.
Yeah, so and this could become an interesting conversation. One, Corbin Burns is an incredible pitcher. Or if you go out and get a Max Fried, or if you go out and get a Blake Snell, any one of these free agent starting pitchers that are towards the top of rotation, they're all going to be really good options for the Dodgers to go out and get. If you have questions about their long-term ability or health, I think that's just every single pitcher that you're going to come into contact with, is you're going to have questions about their long-term ability and health. And certainly there are a lot of questions with this Dodgers rotation. How is Shohei Ohtani going to be able to do with him coming back and actually pitching?
Too many question marks.
You
need an innings eater.
Question marks. So the question that I would push back to you right now, if you were the Dodgers, and let's say that the Dodgers go out and get Roki Sasaki. Again, this is a big assumption. Let's assume that the Dodgers are going out and getting Roki Sasaki. If they go out and get Clayton Kershaw as well, do you want the Dodgers to go out and get Walker Buehler and bring him back?
I think he's going to get outpriced. I think the Braves are going to outbid for him, and I think that's a situation to where the Dodgers will get outpriced in that situation. So I'll say this: I would rather have Corbin Burns. That's what it comes down to. And because I think I can rely on Corbin Burns to be more of an innings eater. I love Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
I will never, ever, ever, nobody will ever say a bad word about Walker Buehler. On Dodgers Daily, around Dodgers Daily, around me, it will not happen because, I mean, he was heroic in the World Series. Okay, but it was lightning in a bottle, right? And he might go out and be awesome next year. But he wasn't until the playoffs, and it was a very small sample size that he was awesome. Mm-hmm. And it was in a situation with a hell of a lot of adrenaline. And so not my heart, but my brain tells me the analytics of it is, even if he is good next year, is he going to give you the amount of security that a Corbin Burnes would in terms of innings eating plus the goodness that he's going to have on the mound? I mean, I think any analytical perspective of that would favor Corbin Burnes and probably by quite a bit. So if you ask me, would I rather have Buehler back or Burnes? I would take Corbin Burnes. Now, maybe a Blake Snell versus a Buehler because you're talking about less innings, right? You're just talking about good versus good. I'm talking about the Dodgers not just needing good. They're needing a guy that will post and give them innings to stay away from them damn bullpen games.
Sure. I'm not disagreeing especially about the innings thing. I think you want to do a lot of different things to be able to prevent the bullpen from being as taxed as they were last season. And I think there's different approaches that they can go out and get. They could always bring in, and I think this is an underrated asset, especially if they miss out on the big three, the Snell, the Fried, and they don't get Corbin Burnes as well. There's always a possibility that they go and get somebody who could eat innings. I guess an interesting question would be, would you want to, and this is not just a one for one, this is looking at the totality of the different types of deals and looking at the totality of the different types of contracts. If you were the Dodgers and you were looking at this, would you rather have a Walker Buehler signed for a 1 or 2 year deal, meaning a short commitment, but you know who you're going to get, or at least you understand the type of player that you're going to get, or if the price tag for Corbin Burnes, because there's going to be a lot of competition for Corbin Burnes. Sure. I'm not worried about the actual price tag. Right. Let's say it goes to 8-9 years for Corbin Burnes, which means you would be paying him until he's 38, 39 years old. Which contract would you think would be better for the Dodgers to go after, knowing that there is a lot of potential in this starting rotation staff for this upcoming season and for years to come? Yeah. Are you that concerned about the Dodgers rotation to where it doesn't matter how many years you go out and get a Corbin Burnes? Where is kind of your range? So this is assuming Walker Buehler is within a reasonable price range for the Dodgers to be able to go get. What is your limit to going out and getting a Corbin Burnes? Because I would be very uncomfortable getting that many years for a type of pitcher, even though Corbin Burnes is phenomenal and has shown the ability to post a lot of innings consistently year after year. It is getting towards the end, or at least the peak of his career. So how long do you want to make that commitment for?
Okay, where's he from?
Can you repeat that again?
Where is he from?
I have no idea.
He's from Los Angeles.
Sure.
Right? Okay. He's coming to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And if he comes to the Dodgers, guess what he's coming to the Dodgers to do?
Win a World Series?
Absolutely. So, yes, he probably would sign a 7-8 year contract, but guess how that contract would be structured? The only way he's going to come to the Dodgers, okay, is if he wants to be a Dodger, to which he's going to want to be a Dodger, right? And he's going to want to come to the Dodgers to be a world champion. Okay. Those are real things. Those are real motivators. And so saying that, what's going to happen is the Dodgers are going to get what they want in Corbin Burnes. And then they're going to get a contract that, yes, it's going to pay him exactly how much money he wants, but it's going to do it in a way that doesn't pin the team into not being able to create a great team around. I promise you, if Corbin Burnes comes to the Dodgers, he is not going to be the guy that says, damn it, I'm going to have a contract that's going to screw this whole thing up. There's absolutely no way that's going to happen. So he will come to the Dodgers and say, yes, I want to get paid, but let's figure out all the creative ways you guys do it to make sure that it is painless enough on the organization to where this makes sense where we can keep building. That's the only way he'll come.
Yes, and what some pushback and what is he's going to have most likely in his ear is New York Mets and Steve Cohen. He's got a lot of money to pay out, and the deferred type of contracts, if there's any type of concern or he doesn't have any sort of interest in that, or if Steve Cohen wants to overpay even what the Dodgers are willing to offer, he has the ability to be able to do so. So there's going to be a lot of complicated factors, and there's going to have to be, if you go out and get some Corbin Burnes, there's going to have to be some risk that is taken on the Dodgers. I don't think that has to do a lot with the money-wise. I think a lot of that has to do with the year-wise, as far as holding on to him.
He's actually from Bakersfield. He's from Bakersfield, which is quite a bit further north, but still he's from California. Went to St. Mary's.
Sure. So there's going to have to be a little bit of risk involved with that. So do you take the risks with that, and then, or do you go ahead and deal with a little bit more of the certainty with a Walker Buehler, knowing
there's more risk in Walker Buehler because you have no idea how many innings he's going to give you. That's a huge risk. You're removing you're removing the most amount of risk you possibly can next year by going and getting a Corbin Burnes that has always been an innings eater and always been a Cy Young level type pitcher at the same time. Corbin Burnes is who removes the risk, not Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler brings the risk in. Now, I understand the amount of time that you're talking about, but I'm telling you, they're going to structure Corbin Burnes' contract to where it is team friendly. He will get paid, but then they will figure out a creative way, just like they did with Shohei Ohtani, to make it to where they can keep building for the long term. And I'll tell you, if the Dodgers win 2 to 3 to 4 World Series and he's a big part of it, it doesn't make a crap what the end of that contract looks like, because they've won the 2 to 3 to 4 World Series. But still, even having said that, there's creative ways around all of that, and there's nobody more creative than the Dodgers. So I'll just say this point blank, that if your pushback is he's going to want to sign for at least 6 years, which is what he's going to want to do, that's not a pushback at all to me, because they'll figure that out.
Okay, I'm still going to push that back a little bit. I also think that the Dodgers, in the exact same way that they're creative of being able to find different ways to pay players, there is also different creative ways in order to be able to fill in some of their innings throughout the course of the season.
Oh, we've seen that, though. It doesn't work. We've seen that. They tried that crap last year. It didn't work.
I'm not saying with just bullpen pieces. There are talented young arms. Like when we're talking about this, you're saying Landon Knack, go sit in Oklahoma City the rest of the year. That's crap. And I don't think that is good for him. I still think that there's ways to be able to implement some of those guys to help fill in some of the innings as well. And so part of my plan, part of the things that I want the Dodgers to do is with some of these young arms that they have on their 40-man roster is to have dedicated innings for them as well to help ease some of the rest to where, yes, you can have all of these different arms. You can have creative ways on that aspect in order to be able to implement them, not give all of the load onto the bullpen. I don't think that is good as well. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go about approaching this and going after this. One, I'm not going to be mad if the Dodgers go out and get Corbin Burnes. He's Corbin Burnes. And it's just adding to the amazing talent that is part of this Dodgers team. It is what I would say and what I would caution is it is adding to the increased risk long-term for this Dodgers team, which I know we all want to win for this Dodgers team and maximize during the short-term game, the short-term potential, but you also have to keep that long-term risk in mind. Sure. I think Corbin Burnes would probably be worth that long-term risk because he's proven himself to be a
What is your threshold? How many years?
Starter. What was that?
What's your threshold of years?
6 probably.
If you don't go 7?
If it's anything... That's where it becomes very complicated because you're getting a lot later into the career for him, and that becomes a lot riskier of a contract because it's likely not just however you want to structure the contract and spread out the money to where it doesn't hamper the Dodgers. You're still talking about average annual salary of during that stretch, probably at least 30 to 35 million for a Corbin Burnes, or at least somewhere in that general vicinity. And that's adding on to a lot of money that the Dodgers are going to be having. And could, and I'm not saying it will, but could risk what they're able to do in the future. So,
yeah. So If the Dodgers win 2 or 3 World Series with Shohei Ohtani, with Roki Sasaki, with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, with Tyler Glasnow, with Corbin Burns, do you think they're going to give a crap about the collective bargaining tax or whatever the competitive balance tax? You think they're giving a crap about that?
I don't think so. No.
So I mean, kind of my point is, then what does it matter? I mean, so what? They're overpaying for Corbin Burns at the end of his contract, and it's counting too much money towards the CBT, right? The competitive balance tax. But they're swimming in money, man. I mean, you've won 3 or 4 World Series. You got Shohei Ohtani, who's made you worldwide. I mean, I talked to you saw the Hyunel Choi conversation. I mean, he's as big in Korea as he is he is in China. I mean, the Dodgers are huge in Korea. So, I mean, from what the amount of money that if they win another 2 or 3 World Series, that will generate this organization. I mean, that makes the whatever contract he signed look like chump change.
Yeah, and and that's assuming that the Dodgers are able to win a lot of the World Series.
Sure,
and I think
absolutely.
part of this is coming from seeing a lot of big free agent signings. There have been a lot of big time free agent signings where at the time it looked like a great deal. At the time it looked like it was going to help the team. It has not worked out all the time. There's been a lot of those different signings where it has backfired on teams and hampered organizations. And perhaps this is coming from a Detroit Tigers baseball mindset where it has hampered the teams and not from the Los Angeles Dodgers unlimited amount of money mindset where it has happened to the team and where they've made some very smart decisions as far as going out and signing guys through free agency and bringing them in and trusting them that way. The analytical side is putting up a red flag when you're talking about paying for years. And that could just be the analytical side. That could be some of the, oh man, that you're leaning a little bit too hard in this. Don't overcomplicate. Don't oversimplify it. But there still is some risk that would come along with that. And it is up to the Dodgers of whether they are willing to take on that type of risk. And I trust the Dodgers a lot more than I trust myself.
So this is the meeting, right? The meetings that Billy Gasparino, the collaborative meetings that he was talking about, right? And you got all these just wonderfully intelligent people that have all this incredible information like you do, right? I mean, you have way more information on this than I do. And then you got Dave Roberts over there, just like I've been in coaching my whole life, and I'm taking all this information in, and I'm thinking, man, this is good stuff. Everything he is saying is 1,000% correct, and I don't give a shit because I want to win the next 2 World Series.
Yes.
That's where I'm at right now, right? That's exactly where I'm at. That's where I would be if I was in that room and I had heard guys like you give this same pitch. I'd be like, guys, everything you're saying is correct. I don't care. Go give me Corbin Burns.
And that is an absolutely fair argument because Corbin Burns is a really good pitcher. He is an ace and would just be another ace to this Dodgers staff and would just make a ridiculous rotation. So if they go out and get him, I'm not going to be mad.
Figure out how to make the contract be as least punitive as you can and go get the guy. That's what
I will tell you what, I will be the first person, if things don't go well, I will point to this and say, you know what? I tried to warn you, but if things go right, you can rub it in my face and we'll both be happy because the Dodgers will win like 2 or 3 World Series if that's the case.
The beautiful part about the Dodgers is none of that actually happens, whether people are right or wrong. The collaborative effort, there is no right or wrong.
And the reality is I probably won't do that. I'll probably forget about all of this type stuff.
Sure. It's the Dave Roberts thing. You want to criticize the bad moves, which is why we try to also highlight the right moves, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's one of those deals where like, well, how many times – I was wrong here, but how many other times I've been right?
Yes. I think that's exactly
I love it. You know what we're talking about? We're talking about first world problems, dude. Dodgers just won a World Series. We're talking about should we sign Corbin Burns or Walker Buehler? Get the hell out of here, man. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I know.
I mean, you want to know what the answer is in either situation? The answer is right. Yes. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, there's no wrong answer here. The Dodgers, and kind of what you're saying, and this is totally correct, Austin, is that they're actually, the only wrong answer here is don't get stupid and do something that actually could hurt your future. You've got it set up so well. Don't just get all giddy like a little schoolgirl and just start making stupid decisions, right?
Yes.
Don't do that. Still use your brain. Let's still be analytical about it and we still have to make sound decisions. So, yes, there is momentum. Like sometimes, a team will get momentum and the coach will be too aggressive. Next thing you know, you've tried to steal 2 bases, and you've made like 2 outs on the bases, and you've given those outs away, and you've actually given the other team a chance to get back in it. That is a great point that you're making right there, Austin. That is a 100% correct assessment that really the only bad answer here is if you go do something stupid long term. But in my opinion, that's too defensive of a stance to be in right now. The Dodgers need to be on offense.
And I think that is absolutely a fair point. You want to take advantage of these prime years of Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, make sure that you're doing right. I think one of the rationales, and this is something that actually just came into mind when you're talking about let's say that they don't go out with the long-term deal with going ahead and getting Walker Buehler. You also have a lot of really talented pitchers that are injured right now or are coming up. And if you go ahead and let's say that you don't sign a Corbin Burnes, but you get a Walker Buehler on a short-term deal, there would be roster spots that would open up for an Abbott Sheehan, a Gavin Stone, a River Ryan, all of these sorts of really talented guys that could open up. So if you believe that they would be part of the future of the rotation, and you're like, hey, I still believe in those guys and want them to be part of the Dodgers rotation going forward. On top of the glass now, the Ohtani, the Yamamoto, and a Roki Sasaki, I think that could also be another compelling argument that could be made with that. Now, add them on top of Corbin Burnes as well, and then figure out what exactly to do there, especially because if you're not sure exactly what the long-term future for Shohei Ohtani pitching-wise is, there's a lot of different complicating factors that is making it a case. But as you mentioned, this is a first world problem.
Absolutely.
Whether we're talking about this, whether we're talking about should we sign Juan Soto or Teoscar Hernandez, these are first world problems, and this is when times are good in Dodgers land, and where we can go ahead and have this back and forth, and it's important to have this back and forth because it is. I don't think it's as simple as go out and sign every single free agent. There's consequences to every single decision that you make, and it's important to think about what those consequences might be before making a move, because I think there's been a lot of moves that have been made where teams either weigh the risk wrong as far as the consequences or don't think things through completely. Yeah. And I promise you, that's not what the Dodgers are doing right now. They're thinking things through absolutely completely. You saw with the interview that you just had, very much thoughtful, very much intelligent. And these are exactly the type of things that they're thinking of. And it's not just these type of things. It's things that are above everything that we're thinking of, that they're debating and going back and forth of, and making sure that they do everything they can to make the right decision.
You know how much I love these prospects, Austin.
Yes.
I mean, we just want to see them have a major league career, man. And I think you guys realize how genuine, those of you who are watching, how genuine it is. Yes, we'd like it for it to be the Dodgers, but we genuinely would rather Jordan Leisure be with the worst team in the major leagues, playing in the major leagues, than sitting in the greatest franchise in baseball in AAA.
Yes.
I would rather see Ryan Noda get at bats with the worst baseball team maybe in the history of baseball at the major league level than watching him play in AAA Oklahoma City, right? I mean, that's the genuineness of which the relationships we build with these guys, how much we root for these guys, right? So to answer your question that you asked a minute ago, Shohei Ohtani, Roki Sasaki, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Corbin Burnes. As much as I love the prospects, Austin, I would rather have that rotation than any of the prospects in the Dodgers organization that I think could be as good as those guys, but they aren't those guys right now. And the Dodgers are in the position to win World Series right now. So you just mentioned a whole bunch of guys that can go get you a Devin Williams, a whole bunch of guys that can go execute any kind of trade that you want, and a whole bunch of guys that, by the way, not only can you run a six-man rotation, you can also do so with so much depth in your starting pitching staff that a Yamamoto can skip a start or two, or a Glasnow can skip a start or two, and that's when you throw in a Landon Knack or whoever, a Ben Kasparius or whoever it may be. And now you've used everybody to the maximum ability. So again, I'm going to say it again. There's nobody that loves these prospects more than I do. But if you're going to ask me point blank, I would get laughed out of the room if I didn't just admit that. I mean, like I said, I love the prospects, but I love the Dodgers more, right? I mean, I'm going to take Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Corbin Burns, and Roki Sasaki over any prospects that you're going to show me, right?
I think that is a fair assessment and a fair point, and you have to compare.
Would they be pissed if they saw this? And said
you have to make a projection, and a lot of these are different projections for each one of these guys. Who do I think is going to be better, and what do I think is going to be better for this Dodgers team and Dodgers organization? A upcoming and getting close to his prime Gavin Stone or Emmett Sheehan or Kyle Hurt or a Landon Knack or any one of these guys,
Bobby Miller,
or if we're talking about a couple of years down the line, or like just 2 years down the line, a 31, 32-year-old Corbin Burns. Because this is another thing that you have to keep in mind. This I know that you know this, Casey. I say this all the time. With free agents, you have to sign the free agents not for what they have done, but what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
And if you believe that Corbin Burns is going to be better than any one of those guys, you sign Corbin Burns and you bet on him because you believe that he's going to be the best pitcher that's going to help your team the most. And then you figure out different ways to do right by these guys, either to give them opportunities with the Dodgers or trade them for other pieces at the major league level. So it's up to the Dodgers to make the correct decision as far as a future projection, as far as what's going to be best for this Dodgers team, and which one of those players is not going to be or not the best pitcher right now, but is going to be the best pitcher and have the most value for their team going forward and make this Dodgers team win championships over just a championship.
Yeah, I would agree. And if any prospect watches that, I hope you understand exactly what I'm saying about that. And the thing about this is the Dodgers are winning championships. So there is, I'll put it to you this way. If not to win a championship, what the hell are we doing? I mean, what is the whole point of every player that you go scout in high school and sign? What is the point of every international free agent that you sign? What is the point of every trade that you make? What is the point of every free agent acquisition if it's not to win a world championship, right? And last I checked, the Dodgers were 2024 world champions. So, I mean, it's business. It is what it is. The Dodgers have to make whatever decision they feel is the best for them to win the world championship next year. And the rest of it, the fallout from that, it's business. You know, hey, the trade-off is there's less opportunity, but then the trade-off is you're playing in a organization that wins world championships. And if you're a Landon Knack, yes, you're probably not getting to pitch as much because you're with the Dodgers. But damn, you got to pitch in the World Series, right? I mean, come on. If you're Ben Kasparius,
and he was a big part of that World Series, them winning that World Series because of what he did in Game 4.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So here is where I would say the contracts. So to me, I think the stability at the top of your pitching rotation trumps the length of that contract. Does that make sense? Even if it's for 4 or 5 years. I think that position is too prime. So I think your argument towards the longer-term contracts, to me, goes to a Juan Soto or a position in right field, to where I could make the case that you re-sign Teo, put Andy Pages in center, go get you either a good center fielder or a good shortstop, and don't pin yourself into that contract with a bad defensive right fielder. Because one thing I don't think you can do is re-sign Teo and Juan Soto and then have Teo in left, Andy Pages in center, and Juan Soto in right, and have literally the worst defensive outfield in all the game of baseball and have the highest payroll.
I would probably agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's very much a Teoscar Hernandez or Juan Soto conversation. It's not a go out there and sign both of them, because then you're going to be dealing with a lot of limitations to what you can do roster-wise, defensive-wise, in the outfield. Both incredible players. And I think both of Dodgers fans, I know there's a lot of pushback for Juan Soto. I think he's a great player, and it would be amazing if he was on the Dodgers. I leave it as simple as he's Juan Soto, and we can go into different numbers if we wanted to go into different numbers for what he's able to do, and I could pull out a little bit of receipts context-wise.
He's Hall of Fame good offensively.
He absolutely is a Hall of Fame offensively in what he's able to do. I think the Dodgers are at an either or pass for both of them. And they're going to have to make a decision as far as what is best for them long term for this club, what is going to be best for this upcoming season, and how do you construct the best overall roster that's going to help you win a championship. And then that's when the trade-off comes for a Juan Soto. Okay, if it's just a Juan Soto and that's all you're able to get and all you're able to add, then you might not be filling a lot of the holes that might be on this club, and you might not be as hairtight as you actually think that you might be. That's where I think some of the realistic argument for Juan Soto comes into play as far as some pushback for that. That's where I can see some justification there. And then, if you think Teoscar Hernandez allows you to go out and get a top line starting pitcher as well, or go out and get a shortstop, you can add those on top of that. I think that's a solid argument to be able to make as far as the difference in trade-offs for both of those different types of players. And I think that's where I'm at right now. Yeah,
no doubt. And so where did Juan Soto play last year?
He played for New York.
Yeah. And who is the suitor? Now, I know it's a different New York, but it's the other New York, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the percentages? Like I just mentioned, part of the attraction to me is I think that if Corbin Burnes comes to Los Angeles, he's going to do so not necessarily for his payday. Yes, he will get a big payday, but I think a large part of his motivation will be like Jack Flaherty. He is going to want to be a Dodger, and he's going to want to win a World Series in a Dodger uniform. And so he will allow the Dodgers to restructure his contract to have it make sense for the organization. Not give him less money, don't get me wrong. He's going to get all the money that he would get anywhere else, but it'll just be restructured, right? I don't see Juan Soto doing any of that. Do you?
I would envision probably not, although I think a lot of people are making assumptions about Juan Soto that might not be completely accurate, whether that's about him individually as a person, as a
that's not what
person.
I meant. Yeah. And I'm just saying he has no motivation
but when you are at Juan Soto and you are going to make 500, 600 million, something like that, unless you're Shohei Ohtani and do something absolutely crazy absurd, which that's the only instance where that's taking place, where to that extreme, that type of contract would makes it so incredible that they were able to get that type of deal done. I wouldn't imagine any type of major delay in a lot of the payments similar to Ohtani in that similar vein, especially when he has or could potentially have offers on the table with all of the money up front. And it's a place where, man, that seems to be the safe bet of what Juan Soto is going to be able to do.
So what does Juan Soto have to gain by coming to the Dodgers?
That he can't get somewhere else. He won a World Series title with Washington in 2019.
But the Dodgers just won a World Series, right? So he's not the key piece that won him the World Series.
Yes.
The only thing he can do by coming to the Dodgers is not win the World Series. And now people go, well, damn, they won it without him, and now they got him, and so obviously he's the issue here, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't stand to be that piece, that missing link that gets the Dodgers over the hump to win the World Series. The only thing that could happen is the opposite of that. Whereas he can go to the New York Mets, he can get the exact same contract in the exact same city he played in last year, and he can be that missing link. He can be that guy that got the Mets over the hump and not have to deal with that pressure of, instead of, you might be the guy that causes failure, you're the guy that causes the Mets to get over the hump from that situation. So if he comes to the Dodgers, I mean, he doesn't really stand anything to gain that he doesn't have a chance to gain anywhere else, other than, yes, they're going to win some more World Series, no doubt, but they're already winning World Series, so that's not necessarily going to be because of him.
Yeah, that's an interesting argument. I don't think I've heard that before, as far as just thinking from him and his player side and what that could do. Because with this, you're not just thinking about money, you're thinking about legacy. Because with him, he's a Hall of Fame type player, wants 100%. To live some type of long-term legacy onto the field. And that could be a realistic scenario to where he might not be as considering of the Dodgers as he might. That being said, if he becomes a Los Angeles Dodger, he has been one of the best offensive players in the game of baseball. I won't complain at all if the Dodgers were able to find a way. I just don't see it as likely at this point, even though the Dodgers have had meetings with him, even though the Dodgers have the ability to spend money at this point. I just remain cautious. I just remain skeptical, I would say, of the thought that Juan Soto would become a Los Angeles Dodger. Although, unlike some people, I would be happy if he becomes a Los Angeles Dodger, and I think he's great at the game of baseball.
Yeah, and we have a super chat here from Alex the God for $5. Alex the God, thank you so much for your wonderful support. Not just the super chat, but Alex the God is absolutely a rock star, Austin. His or her or their support is just absolutely simply fantastic, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It's humbling every time we get support like this. Thoughts on trading for Brent Rooker at corner outfield controllable through 2028, Austin?
Okay, so that becomes an option if the Dodgers don't get Teoscar Hernandez, or if they don't get Juan Soto. I think that could be a little bit more in there. He might be a little bit more of he's a really solid player, Brent Rooker over there. I wouldn't anticipate the A's trading him immediately unless it was for a really solid offer. I think he still has several more years of club control to where, man, Oakland, I think they would probably be waiting till he's closer to maybe 2 years of club control before they take advantage of that, or otherwise they have to be blown away by some of the offer. I think he would probably be, he's a better outfielder right now as we speak than in Andy Pages, which that's no slight to Andy Pages. That's just to say that Brent Rooker is a really solid offensive player. Does strike out, from what I can remember, quite a bit. So that could add a little bit of risk to some of the boom or bust. I don't know. Right now, I don't think that is an option. I think that could become an option if Teoscar signs elsewhere and Juan Soto signs elsewhere. Then I think we can start digging into some of those names. But I think the Dodgers right now, if they add one of those pieces and they move Andy Pages to one of the other corner outfield spots, I think they would feel at least comfortable at the beginning of the season going down that route. And then if any of their internal options don't work well on the corners of the outfield, I think that's when they can kind of pivot a little bit more towards some of the Brent Rooker. But he's a really great player. He has been a really good player in Oakland. I haven't done as much research just because it's a little bit off of the radar for me right now. I'm a little bit more focused on free agency for some of those guys, but that is an outside the box type of move that the Dodgers could make. So I'm really appreciative that you brought that up.
5.1 WAR, 293 average in 2024. The only downfall, 28.8% strikeout percentage, which if James Outman got down to that, we would all throw a party, right? And then only a 9.6% walk percentage. So yes, the strikeouts are high, but then the walks are low. So I mean, there's a 17% difference between his strikeout and walks. That's the only disadvantage there. But whenever you're talking about a guy that can hit close to 300, a guy that can put up an OPS as high as he put up, an ISO of 269 and a WAR metric of 5.1, that obviously is a fantastic player. He had an on-base percentage of 365, so his OPS was over 900. So, I mean, that's a pretty darn good player in Brent Rooker. So Absolutely. That would be a good option. Absolutely. But I'm with you. I think the first two options are re-sign Teo and then Juan Soto and then get down to a guy like that.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario. So appreciative of that. And with Casey and I, always looking for outside the box ideas as far as to fill this roster. I don't think there's any idea that we're going to say and not at least think about for just a second and at least somewhat consider it. If it doesn't make sense, then we'll say that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we're looking for those outside the box ideas because we want to help. We want you guys help us as much as we help each other try to grow in our baseball perspective and push back on each other because there's a lot of things that you guys think of as an audience we don't think of
Absolutely.
as well. And that has helped me and Casey as well as contributors grow in a lot of 100%. Our perspectives and grow in our knowledge in the game of baseball. And we hope that we've pushed that back onto you guys.
We try to treat this community just like the Dodgers treat their collaboration.
Yes.
We want everybody's opinions to be given. We want them all to be extremely valued. but we want them to be in a constructive way, in a way that's not tearing other people down, in a way that's not social media-ish, to where, those comments like, well, if you don't know that, then I don't know what to tell you. Those kind of just stupid, not just great conversation, which is why, this is, I say it, and I'm never going to back off of it. The Dodgers dogs in this community are the best baseball fans, period. Any discussion of any YouTube show out there. I will not back off of that.
I won't back off of that. I won't argue with that because it's true.
Hey, Cole, good evening. Thank you so much for joining, talking about having some of the best chat going. Cole always brings a super big time A game. Do you think Jack Dreyer will be a piece in the Dodgers pen, or is it this year, or is it a year or two away?
I think
he gets a cup of coffee this year.
Yes, he will. He will spend some time in Los Angeles. I don't think he starts the year in LA, just because you look at some of the pieces that are already part of this bullpen, and they're probably going to add another bullpen piece, whether that's bring back a Blake Trinan, or whether that's go out and get another relief arm. I know you're a big fan of Devin Williams because he's a really good reliever, or go out and get another good reliever to help establish this bullpen.
He's a closer. That's why I like him.
He definitely is he is a closer, and he's one of the most dominant closers in the game of baseball. I believe only has one more year of control left on him. What I think the Dodgers are likely to add another piece to this bullpen, and I think that's part of the reason why they didn't add more than one piece through the Rule 5 draft to protect them, is because they want to leave some spots open for a little bit of maneuverability during the offseason for this roster. A little bit disappointed that my sleeper pick didn't get picked up, but totally fine. Trust the organization for what they're able to do. With Jack Dreyer, because there's a lot of pieces that are going to be part of this bullpen, there might be a roster spot or two that some guys can compete for, but then you're going to competing with guys that could be fighting for spots of length to provide a little bit of length to this bullpen. Guys that have more experience or have been in the big league club, in which case that becomes a little bit of an upfield battle during spring training. Doesn't mean that Jack Dreyer, who has overcome a ton of odds and during his minor league career, couldn't overcome those odds in the slightest. And I think when he comes to the big leagues, which that will happen during the course of the 2025 season, I don't know when. I don't know if it'll be at the start of the season. It will be towards the beginning, towards the end. He's going to get opportunities at the big league level, and I think you guys are going to be really excited from what you see from a Jack Dreyer. And I know that he's itching to go out there and give it everything that he's got and go out there and pitch in the big league. So I think it's a matter of when in 2025, not if he will pitch in 2025.
TN said, this is outside the box. Should the Dodgers offer Soto something like 15 years, $575 million with an opt-out after year 3, $60 million per year for the first 3 years? This allows him to opt out after making $180 million and doesn't block other Dodgers prospects. The problem with that is, you mentioned that it's the average annual value of the contract. It's not necessarily what you get paid on any one given year. So even if you front load a contract like that, it's still the average annual value over the entire contract that the Dodgers have to pay towards that competitive balance tax.
Yes, I think they're worried about. Yes. I don't think they want to hamstring and pay the absolute top luxury tax for the next 15 years and lose out on draft picks for each one of those. I don't know how serious the consequences get down the line, or if it's just the same consequence if you go over that tax a couple of different times. There are different complications money-wise with that. I love that creative contract idea because that limits some of the risk long-term while taking advantage of some of the front end, some of the prime 26, 27, 28 of a Hall of Fame type player would be some of the best years you would anticipate of his career. Love that idea, and I think if the Dodgers were to go out and get him, I think they would definitely explore, and I'm sure this came up with some of the conversation, just to see how interested he would be, which I'm not sure he would be very interested in doing this as well at all, because he can get the long-term deal on trying to get a short-term high AAV value. I think those are the type of deals that favor the Dodgers Absolutely, because then you're not worried about money. You also are not taking on the long-term risk of a player, which is one of the things that I would be concerned about, is the long-term risk of having that player on the contract as opposed to the money aspect. Money aspect isn't a big deal for the Dodgers. I think that's where that creative idea comes into play, and I think is really creative. I just don't know. One, I don't think Juan Soto is going to take that type of deal.
The only way he would is if the opt-out's on his side, not the Dodgers.
Yes. Well, I think it would be on his side, and I think he's going to get other deals that I think he's going to get other rival deals similar to that. Not in the completely front load the contract, but he's going to get a lot of money. He's
going to get what he wants. Absolutely. So, hey, TN also says Freeland and Rushing are the only two older position playing prospects. All our good outfield prospects are really young. I would definitely disagree with that. Bubba Allin, Damon Keith, Chris Newell, and Jose Ramos are your four outfielders on the AA Tulsa roster right now. And I would tell you right now, those four guys are as talented as any of the young guys in the Dodgers system. And I say this all the time, and this is why you can't slave yourself to top prospects list. I mean, just look at Jack Dreyer. This is why everybody else missed on Jack Dreyer. It's why they missed on Gus Varland, who got taken, who got missed on Ryan Noda, who missed on James Outman coming up, and Ben Kasparius, and all these guys that really are the guys who have made the impact for the Dodgers that haven't been the top prospect type of guys. What you have when you have the younger guys is you have guys that have a tremendous amount of talent. They have a tremendous amount of physical skills, but you don't know how good of baseball players they are yet, right? Because you haven't seen them against the AA type of competition. So if I were to compare that to, say, that the AA outfielders, okay, Bubba Allin was the Big Ten Player of the Year in 2023. This dude is massively talented. He can steal bases. He can hit home runs. He can hit for high average. He is a great defender, a good enough arm. So if all I had to do is say what type of physical skills does Bubba Allin have, like is all what you have to go by on, say, like complex league type guys, he's A+, right? Nobody has more physical tools than Jose Ramos, Chris Newell, or Damon Keith. I promise you. Now, I can't tell you how great of baseball players they are at this point in their career because there's a lot of swing and miss in all three of those guys, right?
Yes.
But if you just look at the physical tools of Damon Keith, he's maybe the strongest player in the system, maybe the fastest player in the system, certainly one of the fastest players, and he has a hit tool that has a chance to be a guy that can hit 25 or 30 home runs with an OPS 850, 900, something like that, and be a plus defender and also steal 15 or 20 bases because he's very fast. That's his physical tools. Chris Newell could hit 50 home runs. I mean, that dude is insane, his power. Now, he could strike out 350 times, and that's not what I'm saying. I mean, who knows? We'll see how this goes. But as far as physical tools, nobody in the system has more physical tools than Chris Newell, and we know about the physical tools of Jose Ramos. So when you make statements like our best players are younger, that's because you're talking about guys that have physical tools that haven't had to prove yet just how good of baseball players they are. Did I make any sense with that?
Yes. So when you're talking about minor league guys, and as you're talking about the progression up the minor league ranks, you have a ton of guys at each level, and they come up through each level given how they've been progressing. You have a ton of guys that have a ton of tools. And a lot of the guys at the complex level, a lot of the guys at the lower levels of the minor leagues have an insane level amount of tools. As you go up through the system, the level of consistency of which you have to perform becomes incredibly higher and higher and higher. And you talk about this even when you get to Rancho. You talk about some of the interviews that we've had with like a Cameron Decker or Elijah Hangline, those interviews just got released recently when they talk about the transition from college ball to even professional ball at Rancho. Talk about some of the consistency of some of the stuff that pitchers are able to provide and the consistency of which you have to perform in order to be successful at each one of those different levels. A lot of these guys at the lower level of minor leagues are incredibly talented, and they can learn and they can lean into a lot of the tools that they've had. And each one of those guys is starting out a lot of the same ways like a Jose Ramos or a Bubba Eileen or a Damon Keith or a Chris Newell has started out. They're still working on finding that consistency as they go up through the level. And it is very hard to predict how consistent that those guys are going to be able to tap into the tools, tap into the potential that they have. And that's going to make or break whether they're going to be able to make it and continue to progress in this system. It's part of the reason why Jose Ramos has been held back is because he hasn't been able to find that consistency of bat to ball skills at the plate. Got all the potential, all the raw tools in the world, and I absolutely am rooting for him, and I still believe in him, but he's got to be able to find that consistency at the plate. And I think that finding that consistency distinguishes the guys that are able to make it at the professional level and those that are in the system that are incredibly talented. Each one of these guys has a lot of talent, and there's a reason why the Dodgers drafted them, the reason why the Dodgers signed them. It is about finding that consistency, which is the main deal, and finding ways when you are struggling to limit a lot of the low peaks.
Yes,
that is an absolutely huge statement.
Yeah.
And you talk to you talk to anybody.
Ask
in this
James
system,
Outman.
that is what they are trying to do as they go up through the level, as well as being able to recognize different pitches as the talent level comes up. You not only have to adjust to the talent level, but you have to do it, and you have to do it consistently well, and the process has to be there. And that is the challenge for each one of these guys. So when these guys do well at the minor league level, and when they start having some consistent success, that's the reason why Casey and I get so excited, because they are tapping into some of their tools. They are starting to show some of the potential that each one of these guys has.
That's why we like Ryan Ward so much. He's proven that he can do it against major league pitchers.
Yes.
Cody Hosey proved last year that he can do it against major league pitchers, versus like a talented young guy. So what happens is you have these physical tools and you don't really know what your weaknesses or even your holes are until your physical tools can no longer outmatch your opponents, right?
Yes.
Like you can kind of overpower your opponents, even really sometimes even through high A. You see that. If a guy is just a different level of talent, Bobby Witt was able to bully pitchers even at the Double-A level, which is why when you sat with scouts that watched him, they're like, send him to the major leagues right now, because his physical tools were still so far superior over even Double-A guys who have major league type talent. Now, they don't have major league execution. So until your physical – now, sometimes, like I said, with Bobby Witt, your physical tools are so good that the talent never catches up to you. And you're able to never even have holes that are exposed. I assure you that doesn't happen to about 99.9% of even the most talented minor leaguers. So until your physical tools get caught up with in talent, you don't actually know what your weaknesses are that you have to fix, and whether or not you actually are physically capable of fixing those tools that's going to create the consistency that you're talking about. So that's why on this channel, first of all, we don't do prospects list because of that very reason right there. And then also because you just have no real clue. What Diego Cartaya is a perfect example, right? You have no clue whatsoever. Carson Taylor, who is a huge prospect, what this player is going to be until you see them compete against really usually about Double-A talent, right?
And it's one of the reasons why we're so excited about Jack Dreyer is because he not only went up against high-level competition, he dominated high-level competition at the upper levels of the minor leagues. And that's one of the main reasons why the Dodgers decided to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. I think another reason why we don't do any sort of prospect list, and I don't think we will ever do any type of prospect list, you also got to remember, we have to look not just them, but their family members in the eyes and be able to justify any sort of position. I will never be able to do that to any sort of these guys. And we see them. It's not like something where we are a little bit afar and we might see them on social media. It is a Thursday or Friday night at the ballpark, and you're like, hey, we would have to justify that. Never going to happen.
You'd be shocked at how much we communicate with these kids' families. It's a lot of fun.
And the reason why we communicate with these kids' families is because oftentimes there's not a lot of coverage that a lot of these guys get. And this because of how difficult it is at the upper levels of the minor leagues and because of how difficult of this trajectory, this is a very serious grind. And a lot of families who, with these kids, are moving away. They're not around their family for the first time around their lives. They're just looking to see for their kid that has grown up and that is playing professional baseball, be able to get some recognition for some coverage of just how talented they are, because they're all incredibly talented. And so it is a really cool opportunity, cool perspective that we are able to get with that. But it limits us in some of the things that we're able to do or we're willing to do.
You're awesome at this. So put your analytical brain on, Austin, which you don't have to put that on. It stays on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what is the number one, if the Dodgers, if you woke up tomorrow morning and said the Dodgers can only go get one person or fill one need on this team, what is it? What's the need that you fill?
Pitching.
Yeah.
Starting pitcher.
But be more specific.
Man.
Like ace level. I mean, be very specific. Do you need an ace? Do you need a starter? Do you need a reliever? Do you need an innings eater? You got to be more specific than that.
Yes. And that's tough because there's multiple holes that I think needs to be filled. You could also make an argument that corner outfielder, it would be very helpful that would be filled, and you can make an argument with that. I think the one area where the Dodgers got lucky, though, is they didn't have the necessary starting depth that they need. So I would look more towards the it's between ace and innings eater that I'm looking at right now.
Why not get both? That's what I'm saying.
And that's a great argument for going out and getting Corbin Burns right there.
You weren't going to fall into that trap, were you?
Oh, yeah. I can see that coming a little bit.
Knew that. You know me way too well, don't you, Brubaker?
I know.
That is absolutely awesome. Hey, Norm Lee is in the house. Thank you, Norm, for joining. Cohen already said he will bid $50 million more than the highest bid for a rival to offer Soto. Cohen thinks wrongly the Mets ate a Soto away from a World Series title. What do you think? Are the Mets that close?
They had an incredible season. You got to give props for what the Mets were able to do. They made it to the National League Championship Series when nobody else thought they were going to. They had the magical run. They had Grimace on their side helping their team out. I don't know if they're a Juan Soto away. I'm just not as familiar. I think there needs to be a little bit more depth, especially because they're losing some of the pitching that they had. I think there could be a little bit of concern of a weakness from there, which if they were I don't think they're just a Juan Soto away. I think they would be a lot more comfortable or a lot. I think their chances would improve a lot more if they added some more to that starting rotation staff as well. If they did both of that, then you could be talking about this Mets team being in serious competition. But I will say, I think the Mets I think they vastly outplayed some of their expectations of what they had this season.
And they're not going to have Alonso probably.
Yes, and they're not going to have Alonso. So there are definitely holes with this Mets team. I have no doubt that they're going to pay a lot of money to try to go out and get a Juan Soto. I still like the Dodgers talent better than a New York Mets team, and I think there's a lot of other good competition, even in that division, that would rival some of the Mets, even with a Juan Soto, if they didn't fill any of their other holes.
We have a lot of great conversation going on about the Soto deal. It's a fascinating conversation. I know Hep C is all about signing Shohei Ohtani. I know Jay is all about it. And there's, again, I'm going to say it again, first world problems. There is no bad answer here. Yes. If you sign Teo, yay. If you sign Juan, yay. If you sign Buehler, yay. If you sign Burns, yay. If you sign Max Fried, yay. Probably the only not yay would be maybe a Blake Snell, and I still think it's a yay, but it's, God dang, man, we're still looking at bullpen games, and we're just kind of signing the same type of guy that's gotten us into all these problems, that we're like, how did we sign all these freaking pitchers and we're throwing a damn bullpen? I mean, you're signing another guy to put you in that situation again.
That could be a possibility. He's still a really talented pitcher. Last year, I know he started off slow because he signed late and misread the market, or at least that seems to be the case with Blake Snell. He's still a talented pitcher. I'd be excited if the Dodgers were to bring him in. They're going to have to be creative, and they're going to have to find ways in order to provide rests for their pitchers. I know the Dodgers know that, and I think that they're going to implement something to try to make sure that they keep their arms as healthy as they possibly can be, so then they actually have their ace level pitchers once they go into the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any more thoughts that you have on the free agent market, or any of the hot stove talk, Austin?
I mean, we can take this in a whole variety of different ways. There hasn't been anything new that has popped up as far as any news about any rumors that the Dodgers have had. Like, we can create our own type stuff as far as what the Dodgers would have. I'd be curious. I'm a little bit more curious as far as what some of the fans, some of the people, Dodgers Dawgs have in mind as far as potential, maybe under the radar free agents that we might not be thinking about. We've talked a lot about different positions, areas in need. We talked about the Teo versus Juan Soto. We've talked about the Adames versus Ha-Sung Kim as far as which might be better. We've talked about the starting pitching aspect. I'm curious to see if there's any sort of other players that might be out there that perhaps we're not even thinking of, or areas of need that the Dodgers could probably address. You could potentially turn to a bullpen type piece. And that could be a very realistic option that you want to turn to. I know the Dodgers have had a history of turning guys into great relief pitchers, and I have no doubt if they decided to go down that route, they could do that. There's still some talented names that are out there. I know we've talked a lot about Tanner Scott on this show, about wanting to trade for him back when he was with Miami and go down that path. He's likely to sign a fairly longer term relief pitching deal.
That's the downfall.
And especially with I'm not saying that he's the exact same pitcher as the Josh Hader, but Josh Hader was able to get 5 years, $100 million last offseason. If it's anywhere close to that, which I'm not saying it will be, but Tanner Scott, everyone knows, is a really solid, great relief pitcher. I don't think that's in the best interest for the Dodgers, and that's just a stance that I have as far as going out and paying that type of money for relief pitchers.
Yeah, so where are you at on Trinan?
So it would be something where I could potentially be interested in bringing him back, especially because Brusdar Graterol won't be back at least the first half of the season. I would not sign him for any more than a 1 year deal. He's 36, 37 years old. I would not sign him for anything more than that. If it's just a 1 year deal, I don't see a whole lot of risk in going out and getting him, especially if he is in there to go ahead and fill the void of a Brusdar Graterol. Will he be as effective as he was last year? I have no idea. He's getting older. There's a good chance that he might not be as effective as he was last year. But, I mean, with what he was able to do for this Dodgers team, he was great down the stretch for them. And I wouldn't complain too much about Blake Trinan.
What about Joe Kelly?
Probably not at this point. He's, again, getting up there in age. I don't think he's as dominant for this Dodgers club, and the Dodgers didn't rely on him. I didn't see him as a central part of a piece for this Dodgers, but unless they see something in Joe Kelly that they hadn't seen before, I would probably say they could work their magic a couple of other different ways. That's kind of where I'm at with Joe Kelly right now.
Yeah. So, hey, by the way, we just mentioned that the delusional type of stuff, we have good conversation here, but I don't know if you're joking or whatever. Maybe you have a relationship with Hep C or whatever, but that's the type of narrative. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. That's the type of narrative that's not the type of conversation that we like to have here. So that kind of thing, we're having an awesome conversation. I'm reading all these comments, and they're just wonderful back and forth. And like I said, it needs to be just like the Dodgers set up their organization. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody's valued, and it's in a way that everybody is respected. So if I were to say this, Austin, okay, here's my Christmas wish list, okay, if I had my druthers. So I'm going to say to you, I'm the baseball guy. Okay. I'm going to give you, the analyst, how to put this puzzle together for me, right?
Yes.
I want Teo, Burns, Sasaki, Devin Williams, Ha-Seong Kim, Blake Trinan. I want those 6 guys. Put that puzzle together for me.
You would be able to, you could find different ways to make that work. You would have to, if you would go down the trade avenue with the Devin Williams, which there is an argument that they could make. Milwaukee just won the division, which you got to give a lot of respect for what Milwaukee was able to do. Every single person, or I won't say every single person, that's not true. A lot of people doubted what Milwaukee was able to do, and they actually did well in some of the moves that they did make. Even with the trade for a Corbin Burns, they got a really good player in a Joey Ortiz with what they're able to do. So they're a smart organization. I think they're going to make smart moves, and you could see them go out and trade a Devin Williams with him being in his last year under club control and him not going out and signing. They usually go and do make that type of moves. I don't have any huge issues with the moves that you laid out. Obviously, those are some great players that I think would be great for this Dodgers team. Teoscar Hernandez had made a big impact for this Dodgers team. Ha-Seong Kim, I think, is underrated. He would probably miss some time at the start of the season, but the Dodgers have the ability to be able to plug in those holes until he's ready to come in. And then when you have a player like that, you can move him around as needed, and he wouldn't require a longer term deal that comes with a lot of risk for a Willie Adames type player comes into fold. If they went out and did that, that would be phenomenal with what they were able to do.
Understood, but how do we make it happen? It's what I'm asking you. How do you get it? How do you make room on your roster?
So with what they're at right now, they're at 38. Drop that down to 37. Zach Loge. You go out and you. So this is under the assumption that there's not really room for a catcher, whether that's Hunter Fiducia. That's what I would prefer because he's closer to the big league level, and I think he needs to get an opportunity elsewhere.
You already have Diego Cartaya.
Gavin Lux, I don't think there would be in that scenario any opportunity for Gavin Lux because that would definitely mean that Mookie Betts is at second base, and I don't think he's going to sit on the bench. You utilize those guys in some type of trade package that brings it down to 35. You're adding 6 different players. You just need to free up 1 roster spot. And with the trade, if you go out and trade a Devin Williams, you could trade one of the guys on your 40-man roster to go out and do that. Or you could, with Roki Sasaki, because he's signing with international free agent money, I don't think he immediately gets added to the 40-man roster. You could add him after spring training and not trade somebody on the 40-man roster in the Devin Williams deal. That's totally doable.
So basically, you trade Lux and Fiducia. You non-tender Loge. I think it's either non-tender or DFA. I'm not good with the business side of things. Do you know which one it is?
It would be, so the non-tender deadline is coming up on Friday. So that is if they didn't want to offer him a contract. So if they don't offer him a contract for the upcoming season, for the 2025 season, it would be non-tendered. If it happens after that, meaning they offer him a contract and then they decide to move on for him, I think that would be designated him for assignment.
Right. So which one's more advantageous for the Dodgers? Get him on contract where you can DFA him and actually get somebody back in a trade, or just cut bait?
I think because he doesn't have any minor league options, I think that could deter some teams away from him to where I think going through that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense.
So a non-tender to Zach Loge, right? You trade Flux. Easy for me to say. You trade Lux and Fiducia. I was getting my flux capacitor going here with my Back to the Future talk. My favorite movies, by the way. I watch all 3 of them every year. Those and the Star Wars and the Superman and the Rockies. Okay, so you trade Lux and Fiducia, you non-tender Zach Loge, and then you have a couple of options. Either you don't sign Roki Sasaki until spring training after you can put
you just don't have to add him to your 40-man roster until after spring training because he would be under international free agent signing.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So you don't have to sign him till spring training because of that. So that's your puzzle. So you just put it together for me. That is literally 6 guys you can go out and get. And so I'll replace that and say replace Juan Soto for Teo. So it could be Soto, Burns, Sasaki, Williams, Kim, Trinan. You have the room to do all of it.
Easily. You have the roster spaces to do so. Will that happen? Probably a little bit ambitious, but also this is the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a new era, and these are first world problems that because of the money that the Dodgers are able to bring in, there is a world where this could happen.
I'm going to say it again. I started the show with it. I'm going to finish with it. The Dodgers just won a World Series. They have Shohei Ohtani. They have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman coming out. I mean, they're getting close to not being in their prime. They're in their prime right now, but it won't be that way forever. This is the period of time in Dodgers history where they need to stay on the offense. Do not be defensive. If you think that wins you another 2 or 3 World Series, go and do it. Any disagreements, Austin, before we get out of here?
I want this Dodgers team to win World Series. I want them to be smart, but I want them to win World Series.
Fascinating conversation. Great job, Austin.
Appreciate it, Case.